This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
FM 89.9 KMOJ. Walter Q. Barrett Banks Jr. got you on the afternoon drive. No question about it. No question about it. And also letting you know that every other Tuesday we lock in with Little Moments Count. Now, letting you know that Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focusing on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of one's life. Nearly 80% of the brain growth happens with the first 1,000 days of a small moment's interaction. When we're talking playing, we're talking reading, we're talking seeing, anything on the physical side, that aspect of it, hey, it has a lot to do with it to make it happen. And I'm letting you know that if you like more information, you can always visit at littlemomentscount.org. But this early afternoon, I got my man, Mr. Leo Howard III. I'd like to say a good early afternoon to you, and how you feeling, sir?
I'm amazing. Excited to be here. Like I told you before we got on, my mom used to call every year and do a birthday shout out for my sister and me. So it's kind of funny to be on this side of things.
No doubt, no doubt. For the listening audience, can you give us just a little bit of insight when it comes to you and that you do, and then even beyond that, lean into a little bit of a 80 times 3 initiative when it comes to the state of Minnesota and what's going on with the greater Twin Cities?
Absolutely. So what 80 by 3 is, it's an early childhood education and care initiative launched by the Greater Twin Cities United Way in 2022. What we want to do is address and minimize the impacts of childhood trauma and expand our region's capacity to deliver trauma-sensitive care. And so what this really means to me is that we, as 80 by 3, are allowed to walk with these early childhood development organizations and serve as protective factors to combat the adverse experiences that our young people face daily. Whether that's, supporting them through funding or working to disrupt siloed work and bring organizations together so that they then are the stewards of this work and they are put at the front line of this work and able to stand out and have their voice heard in the way that they should.
So now when we're looking at a youngster at a very young age, and we're talking about, within the very first 3 years, what are some of the things that you could say to a parent or a caregiver when it comes to the nurturing in that environment of being at home and helping that youngster to grow?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. And in our name, the name itself, 80 by 3, means that 80% of brain development happens by the time a child is 3. And so it's funny because I myself am currently a parent trying to create a nurturing environment at home during these critical first years. This is my first go at it. And I think one of the things that I'm currently learning, going through the process myself, but also living the work, it's important to have a routine and consistent opportunities to connect with your young child or children. And I understand that we don't all have an abundance of time, but we just got to make that time count. What I would say is, whether it's bath time and holding full-on conversations to intentionally listening to music together, maybe even cooking together, I try to make sure that I put my phone down and try to connect as much as possible. My daughter's so young that I've been trying to find ways to strengthen that connection. And one of the things that we do, we go to the farmer's market every Sunday. We go to the farmer's market every Sunday, and then we watch the Eagles game together. And one of the things that I'm learning and that I've realized, it doesn't have to be spending thousands of dollars on anything, but it does have to be intentional. It does have to be on purpose and really in that light. And that's what a lot of these organizations that we're working with are doing, but I know we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, because one of the key things is time, like you just said, because, when you actually look at it, a lot of times with our time schedules and that we have to do, when it comes to just life within itself, and a lot of us have gotten older, we're parents, we're caregivers, we're uncles, we're aunts, we're nieces, we're nephews, but we're helping to grow a younger person's life, and sometimes we just, in the midst of it, get to moving too fast. How really important is it to slow down and really show those youngsters that love?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. And really and truly, it makes all the difference in how we as adults end up becoming adults, really. We refer to them as protective factors, and I mentioned before, adverse childhood experiences, those are ACEs. But being able to slow down and just spend that time with your child or your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, whoever, and even just holding a conversation with them. My daughter can't form words yet, but I sit there and I talk to her as if we're having a full-on conversation. I'll talk about the Eagles game. I'll talk about anything. And that's so important because these activities, taking that time, just taking a moment to just really focus in and lock in, really, like I said, impacts our children's ability to do a lot of things in the future. It impacts our ability to form healthy relationships, to really get to a space of networking. That's one thing that I have historically struggled with is networking. And a big reason I struggle with that is because of traumatic experiences that I face in the community and things like that. When we take that time to really just slow down and even just have those conversations, we are becoming someone that this young person can depend on. We're becoming community for them in a time and in a space where they need that so much. And what that looks like in the future is now they can build healthy relationships. Now they can also be that example for someone else. When you think about school, if our young people don't have the ability to form healthy relationships, what does that look like with the teacher? What does that look like with their ability to learn, to be engaged? And then even more so when they become parents, what does that look like in terms of their ability to build relationships with the educators who are working with their child? So a lot of people look at this early childhood development where, oh, that's just daycare. That's something that we really got to challenge and really got to, fight and just, oh, I'm just talking to her. She can't understand that. He can't understand that. They don't know what I'm saying. We really got to fight against that because that makes all of the difference. Believe it or not, that sets the stage for our young people to become people.
Yes. Now, what actually got you involved and wrapped around this thing? Because, we're talking about 80 by 3 and, talking about the greater Twin Cities when it comes to United Way. But then even beyond that, a part of the University of Minnesota, as well as, you're also one of those when it comes to education and resources, and then also supportive on the mental health. Just talk about what got you wrapped into this thing and wanted to go down this journey.
Absolutely. I've experienced a great deal of loss, professionally and personally. And in almost every experience, I can point to something that a young person didn't have in those critical years. And I want to be clear, this is not to place blame on anyone, especially not the families. It's just a fact. A lack of resources and support for our families. And again, the mental model surrounding early childhood work have put us in a position where early development work is looked at as just daycare. And so in my time before getting to early childhood work, I worked in the juvenile justice side of things. And daily, I would ask myself, what could these young people be had they had the support we are giving them at 16, 17, 18 from birth? Like, what if we dedicated a case manager, or what if we, really put these resources into connecting with the family and really bought into supporting them on the front end? Somebody from my graduate program coined the term proactive versus reactive. And that's really how I got into the early childhood work. So many years of experiencing great loss, whether it was, like I said, professionally or personally, and you just get to a point where it's like, when is enough enough? When do we get to a space where we're actually doing something on the front end and not just waiting for things to happen, waiting for these traumatic events to happen? And so, like I said, through experiencing it, through losing so many people, I really got to a space where it was like, I got to do something else. I got to get on the front end of it. And then when it comes to the teaching at the U, I teach a course called Urban Youth and Youth Issues. And that's a course at the University of Minnesota where I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be able to have a hand in shaping our next wave of youth workers. I think from that side of things, for me, it's really important for our young people who are going into this field to know what they're actually getting into. It's not all roses and flowers, and there's going to be a lot of loss. There's going to be a lot that you deal with. And I want them to be equipped to do the work. I don't want them to just be well-intentioned. I want them to be well-equipped. Dr. Nicole Evans from Embracing Equity, she does a lot of work with this stuff, and that's where I got that term from, and it just rings so true. I want our next wave of youth workers to be in a position where they feel competent to do the work. And so between my professional and like I said, my lived experience, me experiencing so much loss, whether it was loved ones, friends, to the judicial system, or losing their lives, or maybe they were the ones who took someone's life. For me, I just got to a space where I just kept experiencing loss after loss and wanted to do something about it and want to continue to have a lasting impact. And this is one way how I see it. And then you asked the question about mental health, too. I think that's a big goal of mine, is to normalize wellness. We've all been through a lot. We've all experienced a lot. And it's a hot topic now in terms of mental health, but I want people actually to be able to live that. I want you to thrive instead of just survive. And so that's something that I've been focusing on myself, is getting to a space where I can be in a space to thrive for not just my family, but myself too. As a black man, wanting to be in a position where I'm not always stressed, where I'm not about to pass out at the drop of a dime, where I'm working 10 jobs and my back is broken, and not taking that time for myself. So all of this it's not just work for me. This is my life. I live it. And my dad told me a long time ago, my mom said the same thing: find something that you love to do and you'll never work again a day in your life.
Man, that's words and that's real, and that's a true fact. If anyone would like to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with Mr. Leo Howard III?
So through email and through our 80 by 3 website. I want to make sure I push this real quick. I know we're tight on time, but I am available on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Leo Howard III. I can send you my email. I'll just say it out here. It's going to be HOWAR493@umn.edu. And again, I'm on paternity leave right now, so I may not be as quick to respond as I normally would. But yeah, and then the other thing I would say is the 80 by 3 website. There's an abundance of resources and information about the initiative. We worked really hard to make the list of resources extensive. And the hope is the community is able to familiarize themselves with the website and resources as they go, because the worst time to look for resources is when you actually need them. So the hope is, through the website, through my email or LinkedIn, I'm always open to connect and just continue building.
No doubt. And also you can lock in at littlemomentscount.org/podcast or Little Moments Count if you'd like to visit the website at littlemomentscount.org. I'd like to say thank you very much for the time and opportunity to get to talk to you and you delivering your presence and the information as well. All right?
Thank you. Be blessed, everybody.
No doubt. It's FM 89.9 KMOJ.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.